Do you want to double your savings just by starting in your 20s? You, in your 20s, start saving $100 per month. Now your friend, on the other hand, doesn't start saving for another 30 years. And that person starts saving $1,000 per month. So 10 times what you had to start saving in your 20s. Now, assuming a 12% annual return, who do you think will have more money by the time they're 60 years old? If you thought your friend, considering they were saving 10 times more than you, your friend only has $230,000 or so after 10 years of savings. You, on the other hand, you saved way less, but you started way earlier, and you're going to end up with around $1.1 million. So by the time you're both 60, you have a much larger pile in hand for retirement or big life savings than your friend who didn't start for another 30 years. Now, your 20s are some of the most important years of your life. It's a great time to start thinking about some really important financial priorities that you can start early on to set yourself up for a much better future when it comes to your savings. Sitting here at 34, there's some few things that I for sure would do over again. Here are 4 ways to get ahead and build some wealth starting in your early 20s. First off, build up an emergency fund. This is overlooked by a lot of people. If you don't have an emergency fund, you could really put yourself in a bad situation when an emergency, as it sounds, an emergency arises. The rule of thumb is 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses set aside in a savings account, not an investment account, but simply a savings account that you can access at any time. Anything from a medical emergency, family emergency, anything that you don't know and you can't plan for, you gotta have the cash set aside so that you can move on to other priorities as well. The reason you don't want to put this in any investment account is because you might need that cash right away. Taking money out of an investment account might incur taxes, it takes longer. You want to be able to access your bank account and get funds, hopefully within 1 to 2 business days. The next thing you can do in your 20s is to try to focus on your credit score. This 3-digit number tells the lender how much they can actually trust you as a potential borrower. The higher your credit score, the better potential that you get accepted for certain loans or credit cards, as well as better interest rates. This can save you a lot of money down the road. Trust me. One easy way to do this is focus on your student loans. If you can start taking chunks out of the amount or the principal that you owe back in your early 20s, that'll also in turn help your credit score and then allow you to be a better potential borrower for credit cards, loans, auto loans, things like that. And speaking of debt, that's the next factor. Start tackling that debt in your early 20s. Now, we always recommend focusing on the higher interest debt, all right? Those credit cards that are charging you 16, 17, 18%, definitely start there. But overall, if you have multiple types of debt, I would just focus on higher interest rate first while continuing to pay down the other ones as well. This also kills 2 birds with 1 stone, right? You're paying down your debt, you're lowering that, you're tackling that, but you're also helping your credit score as well. Now that you've done all that, it's time to think about investing. You can start with an employer-sponsored plan such as your 401k. You have options such as a Roth or a traditional IRA, or even a taxable brokerage account. We'd always recommend in general, if your employer offers a 401k in which they match your contributions, take advantage of that first. That's free money you don't want to miss out on. Then, if you're talking about your 401k, you may want to start to consider a Roth IRA as well while you're still eligible. If you're having trouble deciding whether you should focus on the 401k or IRA, or even if you don't know if you should do a retirement account or a taxable account, we have a few videos on that, and we'll throw the links down below. So with all that said, all right, just remember this. Time is your biggest factor. Take advantage of compounding. We'll have another video explaining this concept, but all you gotta know is the earlier you start, the better off you'll likely be when it comes to saving and paying down debt. Okay, so let's recap here. In your early 20s, you really gotta start focusing on the emergency savings. Get that cash savings built up with 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. Next, start focusing on your credit score, which also leads you to paying down your debt. Focusing on the high interest rates first. Then, you can start to focus on investing. Now there's a lot of options when it comes to investing. 401ks, Roth IRA, traditional IRA, taxable account. We'll have other videos to help you walk through that as well. Just remember, no matter what you choose, if you start saving early, you're putting yourself in the best position long term. All right, thanks again for joining. This is Tony from Wealthfront. We'll see you soon.